उसने तो कोई यहाँ पे आया था ताकि करवा दिया था, लेकिन उसका ऑनलाइन तो कॉल सेंटर ही आया। उनका घर तो मेरे घर के पास नहीं है। अच्छा, देश में तो रहते हैं। हाँ, हाँ। नहीं हो गया वो क्या नहीं
बता दिया।
चलो वो एक बार मैं बैठ कभी मैं वहाँ जाकर बैठ गया तो भूल जाता हूँ।
नहीं मुझे पता नहीं लगेगा ना, वैसे तो मरीज का ये कहना मेरी इंस्ट्रक्शन वगैरह कहीं में हो जाए फिर बोला
और फिर वहाँ से भी जाते हैं रुक जाना
फिर वो कहते वहाँ पे चलो
फिर वहाँ बैठने पे फिर कोई स्टूडेंट आगे टाइम पता चलता
एक बार जरा अगले हफ्ते इसे भी देखता हूँ, वहाँ की व्यवस्था भी दुरुस्त करनी पड़ेगी, वहाँ की व्यवस्था भी दुरुस्त करनी पड़ेगी। साला है ये
जी लिया ना?
हाँ?
पंद्रह पे स्टार्ट।
आ गया मैसेज
ठीक है,
रुक जाओ 2 मिनट
एक मिनट।
Good morning, learners and viewers. Welcome to the session for International Logistics and Supply Chain Management, MMPO 008. We will be continuing with Unit 9, that is Documentation in Global Logistics. We start with Combined Multimodal Transport Document. In short, we call it as CTD or MMTD. For multimodal movement of goods in containers, a document known as Combined Transport Document is prepared. The movement of goods is usually done by using more than one mode of transport. It can be rail, ship, by road. A CTD offers a substitute for launching a series of distinct and non-uniform agreements for every section of whole convenience process. Under LC, it is accepted for negotiation. International contracts and types of contracts. There are different types of contracts, such as lump sum or fixed price contract type, cost plus contract, time and material contract, when the scope is not clear, unit pricing contracts, bilateral contracts, unilateral contracts, implied contracts, and express contracts. Contract, export, sales, or purchase are the heart and soul in the conduct of a business. That is, it can be nationally or internationally. In the event of any dispute, the resolution resolves on the terms and conditions contained in the contract, as this being the legal document where in the stakeholders bind themselves. Since commercial trade laws vary from country to country, the International Chamber of Commerce, based in Paris, have taken a lead to evolve around 250 international model contracts that can be followed by all the time nations depending on the nature of commercial transactions. It can be export import contract, agency contract, maintenance contract, contract manufacturing, turnkey projects, licensing, franchising contract, distribution contracts, etc., depending upon the nature. The stakeholders are free to carry out any modification as per law on the land. Leaving aside the fine nonsense of law in different regimes, a valid contract has four essential elements. This is also the provision in the UN Convention, and these four are agreement by mutual assent, that is, offer and acceptance. Second one is legally sufficient consideration. Third one, legal capacity of the parties to contract. And the fourth one is not contrary to public policy and for legal purposes. The broad elements of a contract includes product, service, and description, product specification as regards of quality, price, FOB or CIF as per the Incoterms in 2020. We will be discussing this Incoterms 2020. Then comes quantity, payment terms, delivery schedule, which includes time period, partial or complete. Mode of shipment, it can be which mode, by which mode it is being accessed, air, sea, road, by post, inland water, courier, internet. Then comes the type of shipment, it is direct or transshipment. And then comes the inspection. Now we will start with international commercial terms. In short, we call it as Incoterms 2020. Trade practices vary from country to country. To avoid misunderstanding resulting in disputes and litigation, International Chamber of Commerce, Paris, evolved uniform rules for interpreting the commercial terms in 1936. Then, the International Chamber of Commerce published a set of 13 rules, which were reduced to 11 in 2019, which is known as Incoterms, that outlines the obligation of purchasers and sellers for the sale of products in cross-border transactions, which have been resolved over a period of time. Then what are its functions? A group of standardized trade terms, three letters commonly used in international contract of sales of goods. Second one, to divide the cost of international business transactions. Third one, defining responsibilities between buyers and sellers. And the fourth one is to reflect current practices in the international freight. Then comes what is contract of carriage. The Incoterms utilized in a transaction will dictate which party is responsible for each transportation segment and its corresponding contract of carriage. The Incoterm that is utilized can affect the title passage in foreign trade. As a general rule, pre-carriage, main carriage, and on carriage should be utilized in connection with the Incoterms. Pre-carriage is the transportation segment from seller's location to the point where the cargo would leave from the seller's side. Example, to arrange for pre-carriage, you would contact with an inland carrier to make delivery to the port or airport. Second one is main carriage, the transportation segment from the seller side to the buyer side. Here, just to arrange the main carriage, you would contract for ocean or air carriage. The third one is on carriage. Here, the transportation segment from the point of arrival to the designated ultimate receiver. To arrange for a carriage, you would contract with an inland carrier to make delivery from the port or airport of arrival to the ultimate receiver. Then comes grouping of Incoterms 2020. A set of 11 terms, each identified by a three capital letter acronym that form the keyword. in international commercial transactions. Classified into two categories, that is, rules are made generally for any means or means of transportation, and also rules are chalked out for oceanic and inland watercourse transportation mechanism. Here in the picture, we can see that there are three words at the top written at different point of time. So we will be discussing about these words, what they are and how they are used and where they are used. If, depending upon the mode of transport, first one is EXW, that is X works. FCA is free carrier. CIP is carriage insurance paid to. CPT is carriage paid to. DPU is delivered at place unloaded. DAP delivered at place. DDP delivery duty paid. Now this is for the, we can say that apart from ocean or sea. And if we talk about in terms of sea and inland waterways transport, we use four alphabets. That is FAS, free alongside ship. FOB, that is free on board. Third one is CIF, that is cost, insurance, and freight. And the fourth one is CFR, that is cost and freight. Now, what do's and don'ts of Incoterm? If we talk in terms of do, it provides an internationally accepted definition of Incoterm. Responsibility of consigner and consignee decided. Then comes the allocation of cost, assumption of risks, and have been created to adapt to the most contemporary commercial practices. Now, what about the don'ts for Incoterm? It dictates the contract of carriage, include all the duties of the consigner, consignee in the transaction, deal with a breach in contracts, exemption from liability in case of impediments, and do not speak about payments between buyers and sellers. Foremost characteristics of Incoterms rules. First one is DPU, that is delivery at place unloaded. It has been replaced by delivery at terminal, that is DAT. DUP replaces the formal Incoterm. The seller delivers when the goods, once unloaded, are placed at the disposal of the buyer at the named place of destination. The seller bears all risks involved in bringing the goods to and unloading them at the named place of destination. Then comes your coagulation of 11 Incoterm rules. They are in two classes. One can categorize these 11 rules. They are rules for every means of transport, that is EXW, XWorks, FCA, CPT, CIP, DPU, and DAP, and DDP, that is delivered duty paid. And for rules for sea and inland waterway transport are FAS, that is free alongside ship, FOB, free on board, CFR, cost and freight, and CIF, that is cost, insurance, and freight. Now, by this diagram, we can see that there is the seller, there is the buyer. When it moves from the seller's point, it has EXW. When it is moving, first carrier comes, it includes FCA, CPT, CIP, DAP. And after that, it changes the mode. That means it comes either with the freight or with the waterway. That includes CIF, CFR, DAT, FOB, FAS. And when it reaches the buyer, there starts the DDP. The first group of classification consists of 7 Incoterms rules that one has using for every medium of transportation, and also in the situation when more than one medium of transportations are employed. These were the rules which can be employed at times when no maritime transportation was used. Whereas in the second group of classification of Incoterms, which is known as sea and inland waterway, as in each rule of the group, both the places, the point of distribution, and the dwelling from where goods are being carried to be transferred to the buyer are known as ports. Third one is rules for domestic and international trade. Incoterm rules have conventionally been used at the times of international sales. Contract also which involves movement of goods across the country-wide boundaries. In numerous parts of the ecosphere, with the creation of different trade blocs, namely like the European Union, cross-border procedural regulations among diverse countries are reducing in a significant manner. The result of this is that these subtitles of the Incoterms rules are now officially applicable in all sales contracts, whether they are worldwide or national in nature. It is clear that the compulsion to obey with the rules of export-import regulations exist at certain places only wherever it is mentioned clearly. Two advances have convinced the ICC that a drive in this way is appropriate. At the first instance, Ecoterms rules were used by traders at the time of domestic selling acts. And the second reason was the larger readiness in the continuation of United States to make use of only Incoterms rules for all internal trade rather than using the former Uniform Commercial Code having terms for shipment and its associated delivery. Fourth is guidance notes. A guidance note is attached before each rule of Incoterms. The attached guidance notes after every rule explain all the fundamentals attached to that rule of Incoterm, like time when it is appropriate to use it, provides information about when actually risk passes, allocation of the cost between the one who is selling and the one who is purchasing it. Electronic communication. This is some information about the document which can be easily replaced by electronic message. In the earlier drafted Incoterms rules, if both parties agree to it, Incoterms allows electronic communication such as EDI and electronic documents. Then comes your insurance cover. CIF and CIP are the only two Incoterms that require the seller to purchase insurance in the buyer's name. Under Incoterms 2010, the insurance cover for both CIF and CIP was required under Institute Cargo Clause C. Under the new Incoterms 2020, CIP requires insurance cover complying with Institute Cargo Clause A. Clause A covers a more comprehensive level of insurance which is usually suitable for manufactured goods, where Clause C would apply to commodities. Clearance for security issues and its related information. In today's environment, safekeeping of goods during their movement is the biggest concern in the movement of goods as it requires confirmation that these belongings are not posing any risk for life or property for any motives other than those which are intrinsic part of their nature. Then comes terminal handling charges. Costs become quite a problem with Incoterms with some parties. In some cases, carriers were changing their pricing, so sellers were often faced with a new back charge terminal handling charges. In Incoterms 2020 now provides much more detail around cost and now appear under the A9B9 section of the rule, which clearly states which costs are allocated to each party. Then comes your own means of transport. When arranging the carriage in FCA, non-seller's premises, DAP, DPU, and TDP, the buyer sellers can also use their own means of transport, which is to say that they manage the carriage directly rather than just contracting for the carriage. This is a more likely scenario for transport by road. If the seller, for example, owns trucks and does not want to hire a freight forwarder or another third party to organize and conduct the transport, the seller can take the lead, but only using Incoterms rules where the Incoterms destination and the place of delivery are the same. FCA Incoterms rules. Free carrier has been revised for Incoterms 2020 to cater to a situation where goods are sold FCA for carriage by sea and buyer or seller requests a bill of lading with an onboard notation. FCA in Article A6 B6 now provides for the parties to agree that the buyer will instruct the carrier to issue an on-board bill of lading to the seller once the goods have been loaded on board, and for the seller then to tender the document to the buyer, often through banks. Now we move to block 4, that is warehousing and inventory decisions in global logistics. Unit 10 starts with warehousing. Warehouse are the godowns for keeping and storing goods and providing other related services in order to keep traders or manufacturers to preserve the goods in a scientific and systematic manner so as to maintain their original value, quality, and usefulness. The goods may be raw materials, part components, in processes, finished goods, maintenance, repairing and operating supplies, or any other items used or sold of a firm. Traditionally, a warehouse was viewed as a storage facility necessary to accomplish basic marketing processes. That is, the warehouse served as a static unit in the material and product pipeline necessary to match products in a timing sense with consumers. From the supply chain perspective, warehouses perform the flow and storing functions where goods are stored in bulk quantities, and from there a new and different small assortments of good is selected and moved forward to be dispersed to the next level. Storages are the godowns for keeping and storing of raw materials, components, semi-finished goods, tools, maintenance, repairing, and operating equipments and supplies related to the production function. The primary use of storages occurs in relation to various productions related processes. Storage warehouses may be located at any point in a logistics system, but usually have strong location relationship to production facilities. That is, these storages are generally located near production plants or facilities. A distribution center is a new idea at the advent of logistics and supply chain management, referring to dynamic full service warehouse primarily related to the market. It emphasizes on the movement of goods rather than their storage and other customer oriented logistics services such as sales, market intelligence, traffic, credit, and any other merchandising services of manufacturer. The distribution centers are usually called distribution warehouses, which must be situated to the near to the market. Warehouses are commonly used by manufacturers, importers, exporters, wholesalers, customs, and governments. Each and everyone is having a different purpose to use them. Governments use them to keep buffer stocks and essential commodities, while manufacturers use them as a buffer between their outlets and manufacturing units. What are the characteristics of warehouse? There are many factors, characteristics which affect their usage and location, and hence they deserve considerable amount of time while dumping a warehouse. First of all, location. A warehouse must be located near railway station, highways, seaports, airports, so that goods can be easily loaded and unloaded. Space. Building space must be enough to keep the goods safe. Third one is cold storage facility. Warehouses meant for preservation of perishable items must have cold storage facilities. The next one is parking space. Must have sufficient parking space to park the vehicles used in loading and unloading of the goods. Then comes the security, the most important part. Must have proper security arrangements to avoid theft of the goods and also to avoid loss of goods from fire. Now comes what are the different types of warehouses. They are classified on the basis of ownership and functions. The first one is public warehouse. A public warehouse performs warehouses services for others. Public warehouses stores goods for others. It receives, stores, ships, and perform other related services. Its warehousing services are sold at rates intended to result in a profit to the warehouse. Anyone can store his goods in these warehouses on payment of rent. Then comes your private warehouses. Private warehouses are generally run and managed by manufacturers and traders to store their own goods. These warehouses are located near the manufacturing unit or business centers. Third one is bonded warehouse. It is licensed and authorized by custom authorities for storing goods till import duty due on it is paid and owned either by government or private parties. Fourth one is field warehouses. These warehouses are managed by public warehousing agency in the premises of a factory of the firm which needs the facility for borrowing money from a bank against the certification of goods in storage or in process by an independent professional warehouseman. The fifth one is cold storage. It is another type of warehouse which provides facility to preserve the perishability of goods against payment of a storage charge for the space utilized by different parties. Then comes your distribution warehouses. These warehouses are generally located near to the market, owned or leased by the manufacturer to stock their final products for immediate supply to the market. These distribution warehouses are also called distribution centers. The seventh one is buffer storage warehouses. These warehouses are built at strategic locations with adequate transport and communication facilities, and the goods are stored in bulk quantities and further transmitted to the distribution warehouses. The eighth one is import and export warehouses. These warehouses are located near the ports, from where international trade is undertaken. They provide transit storage facilities for goods awaiting onward movements. Now comes centralized and decentralized warehouses. When a firm has very few warehouses for distribution of its product, then it is known as centralized warehouses. Whereas a number of warehouses are used by the firm, then they call it a decentralized warehouses. Centralized warehouses are usually built around the production site and have one or few dispatch points. This type of warehouse suits those industrial sectors of units who have strong brand loyalty, limited market, industrial products, and high unit price, needing centralized inventory control. Whereas in decentralized warehouses are normally built around the market and have many dispatch points. Decentralized warehousing suits especially retail chain stores, FMCG sectors, where customer responsiveness is the key to be the successful in the marketplace. What are the strengths of centralized warehouse? It has lesser inventory as compared to a decentralized one. Centralized control of inventory is possible and less warehousing cost is more. What are the strengths of decentralized warehouses? Here, maximum market coverage is there, which increases sales. Second one is superior of customer services, creating a higher level of loyalty and goodwill. The third one is better control over market intermediates. Since strengths are there, the weaknesses will be there. What are the weaknesses of centralized warehouses? Here, transport cost is maximum unless in bulk quantity. There is loss of customer service advantage and a poor market coverage and control. Whereas in decentralized warehouse, huge inventory investment is required and huge warehousing development cost is to be borne and stock out situations may occur. Now comes warehousing cost. Warehousing cost includes infrastructure development cost, working capital, involvement costs, and other miscellaneous costs. There are basically three types of warehousing cost. First one is warehouse infrastructural development cost. That includes cost of procurement of space, handling and transfer cost, administrative cost, and cost incurred in direct and indirect physical facilities. Second one is the cost of working capital, which is involved in goods stored in the warehouse as inventory. The third one is miscellaneous cost, which includes tax to be paid, insurance paid for covering risks, and the risk of product obsolescence or deterioration. Types of warehouse operations. Warehouses play different roles in supply chain. They can be operated by manufacturers, retailers, suppliers, and companies involved in production. Here we can see that how the system works. If we talk, no doubt we will start with raw material. Raw material comes to the component manufacturer. From there, It can be a direct assembly, or if it is a product assembly, it will be performed. It can be sent directly to the wholesaler or dealership or to the retailer, and then it will move. At the end, it comes to the consumer. Some of these roles are raw material storage. These warehouses located near to production units to store raw materials or components used to make final products. Intermediate, postponement, customization, or sub-assembly facilities, which includes to store the products at different stages in production line. These warehouses are used specific packaging or labeling and special messages being added in postponement and sub-assembly facilities. The third one is finished goods storage. Finished products ready to move in market or to customers are stored in these warehouses on behalf of manufacturers, wholesalers, or retailers. They provide buffer stock to meet the seasonal variations or unexpected demands. Another is consolidation centers and transit warehouses. These type of warehouses receives products from different sources and consolidates them for delivery to customers or production line. Examples of these warehouses is just-in-time centers. Then comes your transshipment or break bulk centers. These warehouses receive products in large quantities from suppliers and then distribute them to different locations in manageable quantities. The next one is cross dock centers with just in time technologies in supply chain. It requires moving goods quickly through the supply chain. It requires items which are already labeled and ready to onward delivery. Here, these items are identified and consolidated with other deliveries ready to dispatch. Sortation centers, mainly used in distribution items such as letters, parcels, ballots. Items are collected from all parts of the country and then delivered to sortation centers where these items are sorted by zip code, postal code, and delivered to the respective areas for onward delivery. Then is fulfillment centers. These warehouses mainly used for e-retailing customers. These are designed to store picking for home delivery orders. Public sector warehousing. These are operated by third-party logistics providers. Services of these warehouses can be used by single user or can be shared by multiple users or public warehouses where more than one customer use the resources and accommodated under the same roof. What are the functions of warehouse? There are two types of warehousing functions, namely economic function and operational functions. If we talk in terms of economic functions, this category of functions is directly related to the logistical cost, that is, trade-off between various elements of logistical cost. For instance, generally, the addition of one more distribution warehouse results into an increase in warehousing and inventory cost, but there may be decrease in overall logistics cost due to reduction in transportation cost and increase in customer service level, resulting into an increase in the volume of sales. The economic function of warehousing are consolidation. In this function, a warehouse receives and consolidates materials or goods from different production plants and then dispatches the same to a particular customer on a single transportation shipment. Such warehouses are also called consolidation warehouses. The primary benefit of consolidation is that it combines logistics flow of several small shipments to a specific market, and it may be used by a single firm. Then comes your break bulk. This function refers to the transshipment of goods from the production plant in bulk quantity by low rate shipment to the distribution warehouse and then reshipment in small quantities to different customers. The major benefit of this function is the reduction in transportation cost due to major distances that are covered by low rate transportation modes. Stockpiling. The next economic function of warehousing is the seasonal storage of goods to select businesses. For instance, agricultural products are produced during a specific time but consumed throughout the year, or woolen garments are manufactured in summer and stocked to meet the demand of winter. In both the situations, require stockpiling function of warehouses to support marketing effort. Then comes your value added services. Certain value added services are also provided by the warehouses, such as packaging and labeling. In some cases, basic products are produced and shipped to the warehouse and finally distributed to different customers in different packages and labels. There are two major benefits of value added services of warehouse. The first one is to minimize the risk because final packaging is not completed till the order for a specific package and label is received. Secondly, the inventory requirement is reduced by way of keeping basic product without packaging and labeling. Then comes your operational functions. Start with receiving. Receiving goods is a crucial process within the warehouse of handling of goods. Within the warehouse is an important process. To ensure that right product in the right quantity has been received in right condition as the main responsibility of the warehouse. Pre-received. Some areas should be discussed prior to the order being placed, such as type of product, size of cartons, packetized or not packetized delivery of products, product description, barcodes, mode of transport, delivery quantity, and frequency of delivery. The last one is put away. It is act of placing items in storage. In many warehouses, operators decide in advance product location where to place the goods. It includes some information such as size, weight, and height of palletized goods, current order data, weight capacity of racking, information of fast and slow moving goods, status of pick phase for each product. Storage is inbound goods are moved directly to the storage area or dispatch area if goods are cross-docked. The form of storage depends on the items. For example, items of higher values require special storage conditions. It also depends on the size and quantity of items in inventory. Then comes your order management. It includes order receiving, processing, and filing by dispatching of goods to customer. In this process, items are moved from storage to the dispatch area to meet the demand. It is the costliest activity within warehouse. It is the area in which productivity improvement can make a significant difference to the overall cost. Here in this diagram, we can see that on the Horizontal line, there are different activities of the warehouse: receiving, loading, storage, value added services, other activities, put away, packing, order pricing, stock counting. And on the vertical side, we can see the percentage of the total cost. If we talk about others activities that cost merely 2.5 to 2%, but if we talk of order picking, it accumulates up to 35% of the cost. And you're receiving maybe somewhere around 10%. Stock counting around 25% of the total cost. Now it comes accessories in warehousing. All the warehouses use one or more types to develop efficient storage facilities. Bins to store variety of small items. Bins of different shapes and sizes are used. Shelves to store large items or unpalletized loads. Steel or wooden shelves are used. Steel shelving is simply metal sheets that have been fastened to upright posts. The posts usually provide for flexibility in adjustment of the shelf height and the spaces between shelves. Stacking. Unit loads on pallets or in boxes, bags, or sacks can be stacked on top of each other to better utilize vertical space. Yard storage. To store bulk items such as coal, sand, pulp, wood, and scrap metal. The yard storage also reduces construction cost of enclosed wa- warehouse. What are the roles of warehouse managers? The warehouse manager is the person responsible for the complete operation and control of the space, equipment, personnel, and procedures. He must know what must be done and best way of approaching the solution. He must have knowledge of materials to be handled, equipments to be used, workers. And he must be flexible and willing to change immediately when emergencies dictate changes. And he must have complete control of all operations in the warehouse. Now comes what are the advantages of warehousing, why companies or working professionals need warehouse. Warehousing has many advantages, but some of the major advantages are: it provides safety to the goods, prevent their wastage. Seasonal commodities can be provided throughout the year in the market from the warehouse, depending upon the nature of the product. Warehousing is very important or useful for small businessmen who cannot afford their own large area to store their finished goods. They store their goods in warehouses on some rent. It also creates employment. It is a source of income for the persons who work in it. It reduces the risk of loss of goods and their wastage because they are stored. Since in warehousing, goods are in regular quantity. Now we move to Unit 11, that is inventory. Inventory is the stock of any material on hand at a given time. It constitutes one of the most important elements of any system dealing with the supply, manufacturing, and distribution of goods and services. From the supply chain perspective, inventory is an ideal material resource of an enterprise, awaiting future sales, use, or transformation. It refers to stocking of raw material in process, finished packaging, tools and equipments, spares and others in order to meet an expected demand or distributed distribution in future. What is the purpose of inventory? Inventory is defined as a stock of material used to facilitate production or to satisfy customer demands. Inventories typically include raw material, work in process, and finished goods. Inventory stocks are located at various points in the production process with flow connecting one stock point to another. The rate at which a stock can be replenished is the supply capacity, and the rate of stock depletion is demand. Inventory acts as a buffer between different demand and supply rates. The primary purpose of inventory is to uncouple the various phases of operations. Raw materials, inventory uncouples the various stages of manufacturing from each other, and finished goods inventory uncouples a manufacturer from its customers. During this uncoupling process, there are four reasons to carry inventory: to protect against uncertainties. In materials management, there are uncertainties in supply, demand, and lead time. Safety stocks are maintained in inventory to protect against these uncertainties. Second one is to allow economic production and purchase. It is often economical to produce materials in lots. In this case, a lot may be produced over a short period of time, and then no further production is done until the lot is ready to be depleted. Third one is to cover anticipated changes in demand and supply. Because of uncertainty and fluctuation in the market, demands may change. And to meet an unexpected demand, extra inventory is kept to cover changes in the demand or supply. The fourth one is to provide for transit. Transit inventories consist of materials that are on their way from one point to another. These inventories are affected by the plant location, decisions, and by the choice of carriers. Now we will see what are the different types of inventory costs. Inventory cost structure incorporates the following four types of cost. First one is item cost. This is the cost of buying or producing the individual inventory items. The item cost is usually expressed as a cost per unit multiplied by the quantity procured or produced. Sometimes item cost is determined if enough units are purchased at one time. Second one is ordering or setup cost. The ordering cost is associated with ordering a batch or lot of items. Ordering cost does not depend on the number of items ordered. It is assigned to an entire batch. This cost includes typing the purchase order, expediting the order, transportation costs, receiving costs, and so on. There are ways to reduce the setup cost, but often setup costs are considered as fixed one. Third one is carrying or holding cost. The carrying cost or holding cost is associated with keeping items in inventory for a long period of time. The holding cost is typically charged as a percentage of rupee value per unit time. For example, a 10% annual holding cost means that it will cost 10% to hold one unit of inventory for a year. In real scenario, the holding costs typically range from 15 to 13% per year. The carrying cost usually consists of two components, that is the cost of capital and cost of storage. When items are carried in inventory, the capital invested is not available for other purposes. Fourth one is cost of obsolescence, deterioration, and loss. Obsolescence cost should be assigned to items that have a high risk of becoming obsolete. The higher the risk, the higher is the cost. Perishable products should be charged with deterioration cost. When the item deteriorates over a time, for example, packed food, fruits, and medicines, then comes your stock out cost, that is back ordering. Stock out cost reflects the economic consequences of running out of stock. There are two cases here. The first one is suppose items are back ordered or backlogged for a customer and the customer waits until the material arrives. And the second case is when the sales is lost. If material is not on time, the profit is lost from the sale and the future profits may be also be lost. Now the most important part is economic order quantity, that is EOQ. Different concepts and different models are used, but we will be using the best and the simple one, that is model 1. Economic order quantity is an optimum quantity for minimizing the total material cost. That is ordering cost, carrying cost, and stock out cost under various conditions. This is also known as basic EOQ model. Following are the assumptions and restrictions of the model 1, on which the formula to calculate EOQ is based. First one is demand is known with certainty and is constant over time. Second one, no storage cost is allowed. Third one is lead time for the receipts of orders is constant. And the fourth one is the order quantity is received at once and instantaneously. We will see that in this diagram, different parts are included. Order placed at that time, order received, order is placed, again order received. So you can see a saw type diagram for it. Here, the assumption is that there is no stock out cost included into it. Orders placed are filled instantaneously. Instantaneous means that all the orders quantities are received at the same time and in the same quantity, how much that was ordered. For example, if a materials manager placed the order quantity of 50 units, then 50 units are received, not in the different batches of some other quantities, but itself as 50 quantity units, the same. Now, determination of economic order quantity. We will be talking about model 1 only. Carrying cost usually expressed on a per unit basis of time, traditionally 1 year. Annual carrying cost equals carrying cost per unit per year, average inventory level. If carrying cost per year is CC and average cost is Q by 2, then annual carrying cost can be written as multiplication of cost order and number of orders. So annual carrying cost will be CCQ by 2. Similarly, if the number of orders per year with known and constant demand is D, then it will be D by Q, where Q is the order size. So therefore, annual ordering cost will be CO D by Q. Therefore, one can write the total annual material cost as sum of the annual inventory carrying cost and annual ordering cost. That is TC is equal to CCQ by 2 plus CO D by Q. EOQ occurs where total inventory cost curve is at minimum value and carrying equal orders. We can see from this diagram. And the formula that is derived or which is used for model 1 is Q is equal to under root 2 COD by C. The annual demand for an item is 3200 parts. The unit cost is rupees 6 and the inventory carrying charges are estimated at 25% per annum. If the cost of procurement is rupees 150, we have to find the economic order quantity, time between two consecutive orders, number of orders per year, and the optimum cost. Going back to the problem, we have a demand of 32 parts, 3200 parts, that is D is equal to 32 units per year. Carrying cost is 25% of the unit cost. What is the unit cost? Unit cost is 6. If the cost of procurement is, that is ordering cost, that is 150, that is CO. Now, first of all, we have to calculate the carrying cost, that is 0.25 into 6 because that is in percent. Economic order quantity is under root 2 COD upon cost. That is 2 into 150 into 3200 divided by 6 into 25, which comes out to be 800 units. That means your economic order quantity is 800 units. Second is the time between two consecutive orders. We have three orders, 800 is the demand, and total demand is 3200, which comes out to be 3 months. Number of orders per year will be 4, that is 3200 divided by 800. And the optimum cost, that is annual cost, the product of annual cost, price of unit item, plus under root 2 DCOC naught. After placing of all the values which are available or we have calculated, we will get 20,400. That is the optimum cost. Now comes your materials requirement planning, that is MRP. Material requirement planning is software based production planning and inventory cost control used to manage manufacturing processes. An MRP system is intended to simultaneously meet three objectives. First one is ensure materials and products are available for production and delivery to customers. Second one, maintain the lowest possible level of inventory. And the third one is plan manufacturing activities, delivery schedules, and purchasing activities. As we know that organizations need to control the types and quantities of material they purchase, plan which products are to be produced and in what quantities, and ensure that they are able to meet current and future customer demands at the lowest possible cost. Making a bad decision in any of these areas will make the company lose money. MRP is a tool to deal with these problems. It provides answers for several questions such as what items are required, how many items are required, and when are they required. With this, we will be continue stopping this session.